Hello, I'm Rico Caviglia, and welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. Now, before I introduce today's episode and our expert guest, I just have a quick question for you. If you've been wondering how well you are aging, well, I have a solution for you. You can go to our main website, agelesslivinglifestyle.com, take our free aging assessment. And if you don't like the results, you can book a free call with me and we'll discuss what challenges you're having. And I'll give you some quick and easy solutions that'll get you going on the right track. So go to agelesslivinglifestyle.com and take our aging assessment. So the title of today's episode is just one that's just right on my same page. It's the framework for living a longer life. And our expert guest is Nick Engerer. Oh, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name, Nick.
You got it right. It's Engerer.
Engerer. Nick Engerer is a biohacker and longevity mindset strategist dedicated to creating a global shift in perspective of what's possible for human longevity. A longer life is a platform that delivers the essential information you need to live your longest and healthiest life. So, Nick, thanks so much for being here.
Rico, this is great. I was so looking forward to speaking with you. And in the intro discussion we had, I said to you, and I meant it, I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. I think that, in terms of the longevity mindset I want to talk about today, you're living it, and as are many of the guests that you've had on this show.
Well, on that same note, I was just going to say that's going to be one of my first questions. I mean, you're still a young guy. Most people that are into this are older people because they're concerned about it. But you're still a real young guy. So that's going to be my first question: is how did you happen to get into learning all about this and making it your life's work?
I've always been interested in health. I've always had a bit of a penchant for that, a bit of interest since a young age, but I had a defining experience in my late 20s. When my son was born. He's now 11 years old. And his mother, during his birth, it was a cesarean section, it was discovered she had a rare form of cancer and had to go through some big surgeries, 2 different big surgeries, some chemotherapy, a couple of years of treatment. And, thank God today she is well. And my son still has a mother in the world. And that's modern medical technology, right? And I had 2 other friends, same thing, late 20s, get cancer that same year. Wow. So it was a real strong call to me about the mortality, reality of mortality, even in your late 20s. And not many people get that till they start to get later in life.
Right.
But I got it early. And I am a PhD scientist by background. I love technology. I am so interested in all things that advance the human race and our capability. I love space flight. I love AI. I love all that stuff. And so I was really interested in asking the question around why are people still receiving late stage disease diagnosis, stage 4 cancers, for example, when we have all of this amazing technology that probably could detect it earlier. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole after that cancer journey. And I found out, in fact, we do have some incredible technologies for detecting disease very early and at a treatable stage. And this whole notion of people being diagnosed where it's too late for treatment, we simply do not have to live in that world anymore. And it made me want to build awareness of that. And as I delved into that further and further, began experimenting with those proactive healthcare technologies myself, including going to San Diego and going to a health clinic there and having a full body MRI and the whole workup and doing it myself. It all started to roll into me understanding that not only can we prevent disease, late stage disease diagnosis, we actually understand what it takes to live 5, 10 plus years longer with the tools we already have. And longevity technologies are advancing that maximal lifespan for us. It's all happening. It's the longer we live, the more technology is here to keep us healthy. And that's a very exciting future that I've just become, a bit obsessed with. I've decided to make it my life's work moving ahead to be spreading that message and helping people understand what it means for them.
Yeah, well said. First thing that comes to my mind from what you said was, how everything that happens to us is really an opportunity and a blessing. So that happened to you at that young age. And so that's what got you into doing what you are doing now. And as we were talking, because you're starting so young and learning all about what the human body requires for to function optimally, you are going to live to stay healthy and live to 125. I'm sure of it. So that's so good. And then the second thing is, in addition to all the technology, but really I think what we need to more focus on is prevention instead of how can we treat them when we get all these diseases. It's really about isn't it? It's really about what we want to create is a good health span. As we want to have a long lifespan, but we never know how long we're going to live, right? But what we want to do, as long as we're alive, we want to be healthy and energetic and be able to do whatever we want to do. So it's really about creating a health span.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that that's the real thing that we know how to change right now. And in terms of extending maximal human lifespan, there's still some basic science in that. There's new technology that needs to be developed for that. But in terms of extending our healthy years on this planet, disease-free healthy years on this planet, we can add 5 to 10 years more healthy life with the things we know now, with the resources we have now. And that is a huge part of what I speak to at A Longer Life, in that 4-part framework that you mentioned at the opening that I've built to help simplify and guide people, because this journey can be quite overwhelming. Being able to focus on the lifestyle factors you can change to get those 5 to 10 extra healthy years. The earlier you start, the more you can get, but it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
We have only come to really understand that in the last few years, that's how it works, through understanding the science of epigenetics.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, before we get into what you have to offer, I know you have a course that we'll let people know. So be sure and stay to the end, and because Nick's got a really good free course that you can take on his website, and I think you'll really enjoy that. It's going to be really helpful for you. And the 4 things that what I looked up on your website you offer is risk profile, managing your risk, optimizing your lifestyle, and leveraging longevity technology. So we're going to talk all about each one of those things. But before we do, I just want to ask you, why do you think that it's so important for people to stay healthier and live longer?
I think at the core of it, if we really boil down to what the value is, that the personal values for me, it's that I've seen firsthand the human suffering that results from late stage disease diagnosis, as I've shared. I've also really opened my eyes to the suffering that is present, even in just carrying chronic disease in life. I've also had life lessons that have taught me that. And I see how precious our health is. That really drives me to help create awareness for people about how they can improve their health. But I think most importantly, people have to want to. They have to really want to care for themselves. And in fact, I've actually gone into the field of psychotherapy. I'm actually getting trained to become a psychotherapist because I'm so interested in this piece around why do we want to wake up each day? What trauma are we carrying that manifests as disease in our body? Mm-hmm. What actually separates a person from wanting to be alive? It's subconsciously wanting to be alive, more than just cognitively, but subconsciously in their body, like, I want to be here. I love my life. From those who are really, suppressing things with drugs, with TV, with eating too much, you name it. We really are escaping feeling a lot of things that we need to feel to be vibrantly healthy. And so that human suffering and helping people understand their pain, move through it, live a healthier life, a longer life, it really motivates me a lot.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I totally agree with that. One thing though, what I want to add to that, one thing that I've come up with is why, and it's one of the messages that I like to get out to people, is another reason, other just than for obvious reason, for your own enjoyment of your life and fulfillment of what you want to accomplish on this planet, is that we need more people as they age. Well, as we age, we gain wisdom and knowledge, right? And so we need more people as they age to stay healthy and live longer so they can give back their knowledge and wisdom, not only to help solve the monumental challenges that we're all facing as humanity, but also we need more role models and mentors for younger people. And unfortunately, most people, like I say, that most people are getting sick and old in their 60s and 70s and dying. And so we're losing all that knowledge and wisdom. So that's another reason that we need to get that message out. And like you say, it's really a whole mindset thing. You have to realize, that you can change your lifestyle and you can live a healthier life and you can live a more purposeful life. But you got to be healthy. You got to have energy, right?
Agree. And I love what you've said about that generational wisdom piece and eldership. And I think that the loss of some of that cultural value is one of the reasons why we are under so much pressure in terms of our longevity. And in fact, I talk about that in that free online longevity mindset course that you can grab on my website. I speak specifically to that. The modern societal values based on consumption and productivity are at odds with our health. And they've also pushed out those cultural values, which a family hierarchy is a huge part of. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. I do think that we are missing out on something when older folks in more advanced years don't have the health or cognitive ability to share their wisdom or to continue to want to grow it.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said. So, well, let's get into what you have to offer there. So let's talk a little bit on what's involved with your risk profile. What are some of the main risks that you see?
Brilliant. Okay, great. So I mentioned a 4-part framework, right? And that's what a longer life is. It's a 4-part framework that simplifies things and helps guide people. Because the main thing I find is that people get excited about living a longer life, but then are quickly overwhelmed by all the decisions they have to make, right? So the first part, I'll take one step back and then I'll go ahead and answer that question. The first part is actually adopting a longevity mindset. That's where we start. That's why I've created this free course. And that's the first part of the framework, because you got to know why you have this opportunity here that I'm speaking about to live a longer, healthier life. Why is that the case? And in fact, I say that people need to come to 2 key realizations. The first key realization is actually in the opening of your show. You talk about avoiding disease. So the first key realization is that disease is not destiny. You do not have to get weak and sick as you grow older. You don't. You do not.
That's right.
You do not have to accumulate chronic illnesses. You do not have to accumulate physical deficiencies and become frail and dependent. You do not have to. And there are abundant pieces of evidence to show this. I call them longevity legends, people who are defying the stereotypes of aging. And you are one, you have them on your show. All people have to do is shift their mindset enough to see something else is possible, and they'll start observing that and letting that into their conscious programming to displace all that subconscious programming that tells us otherwise, based on people we've seen in our family, our peers, what we see in the news and media about you get old, you get on the pills, you go to the nursing home, right? That's the narrative. We need to shift that narrative. So that's key realization number 1. Number 2 is that the longer you live, the more technology is here to keep you healthy. And that is a tremendously exciting thing and a wonderful time to be alive in that. And we already are on the tip of the spear with that. We have supplements that we know that can improve biological age. We can measure our biological age. And in fact, that's advanced to being able to measure the biological age of our organs. We understand the key hallmarks of aging, the things that happen as we get older and what we can do about them. And we understand how important, for example, it is to take care of your skin, because it's your first line of defense against everything that's coming in environmentally to try to age you. So those technologies are here. So if you understand, you don't have to get weak and sick as you grow older. And the longer you stick around, the more amazing technologies are here to keep you healthier for longer. You start to really see the world differently. That's why I call it a realization. It's a shift in your perspective of reality. And so we use that course to help people start there, because once you have that, then you're going to ask the question, okay, I'm excited. What do I do next?
Right. So well said, Nick. Okay, I have a short 60-second message here, and when we come back, then we'll get into what you see as some of the main risks, how to manage those risks, and then I want to hear some more about what some of the technologies that you're aware of to improve their longevity.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Now, in just 17 minutes, you can get and stay fit and look and feel your best for life. This will be a life-changing and life-saving experience for you. Yes, it's true. Scientific studies have shown the Fast Fit 17 system is the fastest way to achieve maximum results in the shortest amount of time. This is a true fitness breakthrough. This system was developed particularly for busy people over 40 who know they need and want to get into better shape and have more energy, but feel they don't have the time. Now, time is no longer an issue. We want everyone to take advantage of this fitness breakthrough. So, for a limited time, you can get the entire program for only $17. So don't miss out. Order now at fastfit17.com.
All right, we're back with Nick Engerer. He's a biohacker and longevity mindset strategist, and someone who's really on the same page with me. And it's so, I'm so happy to see somebody, a younger person like you, really getting into all this and making this available to a lot more people. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, so let's just kind of briefly talk about what you see are some of the main risks and how to manage those risks.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rico. I'm still rocking with that commercial music. I really like that. Got the blues, got me going. So let's talk about part number 2 of the 4-part framework, and that is developing your own longevity strategy. And that's where you're picking up on that word risk, because each of us have unique risk. Yeah. And we can identify that risk for free as a starting point by doing a family health questionnaire, family health history. What diseases have your related aunts and uncles developed? Your grandparents, your parents, your brothers, sisters. That can tell you something very quickly about your unique risk for age-related disease, right? So that's one free thing. And then we also have the very powerful advent of genetic analysis. And so we can get our genome sequenced, and provided you pick a really good option, because there's a lot of junk ones out there. I talk about a few on my website. I won't promote anything here. But if you pick a good one, you can get more age-related disease risk insights. And so I'll give you one practical example. For myself, in both my family health history and in my genetic profile, there was a clear risk for me to develop age-related macular degeneration, right? So I've got this retinal health risk. And so I know that in terms of things that I need to prioritize when I think over the long term, that is one of the things I want to start with, because it's the thing I'm most vulnerable to. So if you were to walk down the aisle of your favorite supplement store, or at the grocery store, you're at Walmart, you're at Whole Foods, wherever, you're walking down the supplement aisle, and you had to make the choice, like, okay, what supplement am I going to start with in this aisle? This simplification is key, because now if you're me, you know, I need to go to the eye health section and look for some zeaxanthin, some carotenoids, and I'll take those. And I know that's a good choice for me to do over the long term, over decades of time, to support my eye health, because that's a key risk that I have. That's a key longevity risk that I have. It's going to be different for every person, but you have to simplify this overly complex problem. And that's what developing your own unique longevity risk profile helps you do. It helps you identify the critical places where to start and how to start investing your limited time, energy, and money.
Wow, that's so good. You say that, I think that's brilliant. Really good, Nick. That's so good. So that's such an important thing, to really know, really what's going on and know what risk you have, and then you can take the appropriate action. And as you were saying earlier, there's no lack of knowledge and information these days of how we can really improve our health or take care of our health. So it's all about stepping up and getting the knowledge and then actually applying it. So let's talk a little bit about some of your main ideas of what one can do to optimize your lifestyle.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's the third part of this 4-part framework. It is longevity lifestyle factors. And so there are 5 of them as I break it down. There's a couple different ways to think about this, but when I simplify it, I break it down into nutrition, fitness, sleep, mental health, and environmental factors. And environmental factors, that means like the water you drink and the air you breathe. And so we have learned through the science of epigenetics, I mentioned that earlier, that your genes are actually not your destiny. So what I just mentioned about the age-related macular degeneration risk for me, that means that is a key risk that I have, but risk can be managed. Risk does not mean it will happen. It means that it can happen, may probably happen. However, there are things we can do to manage that risk, to reduce it. Another really famous example was the actor Chris Hemsworth. He went on this docuseries he made called Limitless with Dr. Peter Attia and revealed he has a double ApoE4 variant, which means he is in the highest risk category for developing Alzheimer's. If he does the right things with his lifestyle factors starting earlier, and he's in his 40s, he starts now, he can actually reduce his risk to nearly that of somebody who has average risk, all the way from the top risk down to average risk, because he's adjusted his lifestyle factors. A very powerful illustration. And so the thing that we have learned that's key is that we have our genome, we have our genetics, but our genetics are actually controlled and expressed by our epigenome, which is this regulatory thing. It's the way it controls how our genes are expressed. It's how you can have the same DNA in all your cells, but you have different cells: skin cell, eye cell, liver, heart, intestinal wall. The epigenome tells the cell what to be and organizes that information. And when you do resistance training, lift weights, when you do aerobic training, you're running or on the erg or you're going for a vigorous hike, you are telling your body to be stronger. And when you tell your body to be stronger, it hears that, it adapts, and it becomes stronger because of the epigenome. And we do that with nutrition, we do that with our sleep, we do that with our fitness. All those things I mentioned are telling your body to be more robust and to stay healthy. And if you keep doing that, your body will listen. It's an amazing, amazing potential within you that you're continually unlocking. And you can keep doing all those things I mentioned at any decade of life. And it will continue to provide you with those benefits.
So well said, Nick. Really, really well said. Yeah, no question about it. It's when I first wrote my very first book called Ageless Living, that's what it was all about, to make people aware, to realize that, as you said, how healthy we're going to be and how long we're going to live is our genes play only a small role, maybe 10, 15%. And as you said too about epigenetics, our genes are affected and altered by our external environment and our internal environment. Also, as you said, we talked about too, one of the most important things is your mindset, what you're thinking. If you're buying into that mainstream narrative that everybody's going to get old and sick and die in their 70s, well, that's what you're going to create. That's what your body, as you said, your body's listening. That's what your body's going to create. So all the things you're talking about, you're just so right on. So we just got a couple of minutes left. So talk a little bit more about some of the latest longevity technology that you think is really valuable.
Right. So this is part 4 of the framework, and it's where everybody wants to start because they get excited about longevity and then they get advertised to on Instagram and Facebook and all the rest, and they just start buying things because they want to do something for their health. This is why I say, no, go back to the mindset, then work on your risk, then work on your lifestyle, and then you can spend your money. Okay, let's talk about the fun things you can spend your money on. Yeah. There's some tremendous examples. There's too many to go through here. I'll give you a couple that have some great evidence. One really powerful example is red light therapy. There are decades of research behind the biology of red light therapy. You can use that to have more youthful skin. You can use that to reinvigorate, even help regrow cartilage in joints and repair injuries more quickly. And you can use it to be generally supporting your health to be all more youthful because you're actually re-energizing your mitochondria in the very simplest sense. Mm-hmm. So somebody who does all the right things with red light therapy will have health benefits and longevity-derived benefits, health span benefits, over somebody who does not do those things. We have really good evidence for that. It's an example of a longevity technology, and those things are improving all the time. I talk about some really cool ones on my website. Another really great example is just being able to measure your biological age or how fast you're aging. In fact, I work with a company called True Diagnostic, and I visited their laboratory last year in Kentucky, and they can actually measure the individual age of your organ systems. They can tell you how old your brain is biologically, your lungs, how old they are biologically. And that begins to give us the opportunity to target improving the biological age of places where we're lagging behind, and know we're doing the right things for places where we're well ahead. So there's many other things we could go into. Supplements are a great one. And I've done some what I call self-experimenting, which is where you try something new and you measure before and after with those biological age tests, and you can figure out if something works for you. For example, I took calcium alpha-ketoglutarate for a year. I improved my biological age by 3 years using 3 different biological age tests. Really good evidence that that's a great supplement for me to keep taking. So there's an exciting world here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nick, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you so much, not only for being here, but what you're doing. You're doing some great work, and I really appreciate all the things that you offer our audience. But so be sure we'll put how you can connect with Nick and get his free course. And so always
web search my name, Nick Engerer. You'll find me.
Yeah. Well, it'll be in the show description.
Great.
So as always, I like to end all my shows with Einstein saying, "Knowledge without action is useless." So we give you a lot of good information, but you got to